Hello everybody and welcome back to Teachers Talk Money, where I help teachers master their money in order to give back to themselves. Today we're going to be talking about online shopping. I have to say that I genuinely love the opportunity that online shopping affords. I think that in most cases I have a very positive relationship with online shopping because it's really convenient. You don't have to step outside of your house. And for me, it's a lot easier to shop secondhand when online shopping, especially for things like clothes, because you can filter by your size or brands that you like if you use Poshmark or ThredUp, which I do. And it also gives me more access to sustainable brands other than buying secondhand. So I feel like there's a lot of really great stuff about online shopping. But that doesn't mean that I always have an amazing relationship with it, and I know that I'm not alone in this. There are a lot of times when I find myself online shopping because I'm feeling bad, anxious, or insecure, or sometimes just bored. I think it's a really quick dopamine hit, and it provides some instant gratification to sort of self-soothe whatever negative emotions I'm feeling. And what makes this unhealthy as a coping mechanism is, of course, buying more stuff isn't going to fix your problems, A, and B, it can end up costing you a lot of money for things that you maybe don't need or even want. And it's a lot harder to abstain from online shopping as a sort of coping mechanism because it is so easy and convenient, right? I can choose to avoid Target or the mall or whatever stores might be sort of unnecessary spending triggers for me, but there's so little friction to just opening up a website and starting to browse when it's literally at your fingertips. So I wanted to dedicate a video to the sort of hack or trick that I use to curb my online spending. Again, I think online shopping is a great thing. I don't think that buying something online is necessarily a bad thing, but I want to make sure that every single purchase that I make is intentional and is going to be something that actually serves me. So I think the number one thing to keep in mind when thinking about online shopping habits is that you don't necessarily need to make the purchase to get the same dopamine hit that you're seeking. Like I said, my unintentional online purchases happen when I'm feeling anxious or bored or some other kind of negative emotion that I'm trying to either ignore or cope with. And like I said, this becomes an unhealthy coping mechanism when it causes me to spend money. However, there are actually ways to get around this while still online shopping. I have found that it is just as effective to make myself feel better when I'm just browsing online shopping, picking a few of my favorite things, adding them to cart, and then stopping, leaving them there, not taking another step forward, and not clicking the purchase button. This can satisfy my anxiety or boredom without hurting my wallet. Now, whether or not that's still a healthy coping mechanism, obviously I think that's up for debate. That being said, it takes away the practical negative effect of actually taking away money from me for something that I may not want or need. And this leads us perfectly to the next step of the process. Here is how to make sure that all of your online purchases are intentional, because again, online spending isn't necessarily bad, but doing so without really thinking about it or without really knowing that this is something you want and is in your budget, that is where the problem comes in. And just FYI, this tip is sort of adapted from the minimalists. I just don't want to take entire full credit for it. I'm sure it's other places too. But the number one thing to do once you've added these items to your cart and stopped and paused and not hit buy is to wait 24 hours before deciding whether or not you actually want to purchase that thing. If you aren't in the heat of the moment online shopping, you can make a much better, more balanced, intentional decision over whether or not this thing is truly worth the money to you. I also want to point to another helpful resource also from the minimalists, which is this series of questions that you can ask yourself if you are still unsure whether or not you want to buy this item. I will put the link to these questions in the description of this video, but this is from the Minimalist website, 5 questions to ask before buying. The first question is, can I afford to part with this money? This means, is this money that I can allocate towards this item? If you're keeping a budget, you have the answer right away. So if you're not keeping a budget, highly recommend go get my budget templates in the description of this video. But if you're not keeping a budget, you might have to do a deeper dive to determine if this is money you can afford to part with. If you have to put it on a credit card, you can't afford to part with it. The second question is, can I afford the actual cost? This is referring to the cost of the time it will take to maintain the item, the space it will take to store the item, and things of that nature. The third question is, will it add value to my life? And this is something I talked about earlier in the video. Is this item actually going to serve you in some way? Question number 4 is, what are the alternatives? In other words, what else could I use this money for? And the fifth question is, can I get by without this for a while? Which means you can give yourself a little bit more time to wait and decide if these first couple of questions did not fully determine your answer for you. Another question I like to ask myself as a person who struggles with comparison is, who am I buying this for? Because sometimes I feel like a lot of these purchases are like ideal self purchases and something I might not actually use, or I'm purchasing it because somehow in my mind that will impress another person or something. So that is the only question I would probably add to those 5 questions. And I think that you can kind of create your own questions as you go along that sort of suit your personal needs better. So then you can decide to hit buy if you really want to. If you decide that you do want to buy some or all of the items in your cart, you know that you fully weighed that decision and you've made sure that you can afford it. Plus, an added advantage is that some stores will lower the cost or put a sale on the items that are in your cart in order to get you to buy it, which you don't want to fall for that tactic if you decide that you don't actually need the thing. But if you do decide to make the purchase, you can save a little bit of money on this thing that you've decided is important to you. So that is how I view online shopping, and that is how I curb my unintentional online spending while still giving myself space to make decisions about what I do want to buy online. I hope this video was helpful for you guys. If you got something useful out of this, please like this video, comment down below, and of course make sure to subscribe to my channel. Have an amazing week, everybody, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!